Welcome to our Devos. We're going to conclude this week the way that we started it with a focus on what Christmas brings and the gifts of Christmas, the unmentioned gifts of Christmas that often get shown, we don't really often focus on. They're shown too infrequently. And this one is like those, even though this one tends to make it onto the Christmas cards. This one tends to be maybe in some of the mantle decorations that you have, that word. Christmas actually brings joy. Now, like peace, joy is an inside job. Happiness requires us to have the perfect circumstances. But joy takes place from within because joy can only happen with God's intervention, true joy. And one of the ways that joy takes place, we see in the Christmas story, is when Mary is told that she is going to give birth to the Savior. The story is crazy because an angel shows up and just completely disrupts her life. And she finds herself having this conversation about how she is going to give birth to the Son of God, to the Messiah, to this child that will be called Jesus. And even though her reputation is now going to be tarnished, even though she's going to have the difficult conversation with her fiancé about how she's pregnant with a child that's not his, we find that her response initially to the angel's proclamation of what's going to happen is joy. In fact, Mary had a musical side. She had a very, very worshipful soul. And she sings this song. It's Mary's song. It's hardly ever covered in the Christmas story. But it's I did a teaching on it one time for Sunday school and for the young adult group. And it's all about what's going on and the fact that God has chosen her in her humble estate to do this thing that is inconceivable, quite literally inconceivable because she conceived without conceiving. We see the joy that she has. Luke chapter 1, verse 46 through 48 says, "And Mary said, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior." Notice Mary says she needs a Savior. So if you go to a church that says Mary is ultimately above God and doesn't need a Savior, Mary would disagree with you. And it says, "Mary and God, my Savior, for he has looked on the humble estate of his servant, for behold, from now all generations will call me blessed." She said, how could I be in this place? How could I be the one that carries the Son of God? Sometimes the blessings of our lives that change who we are for the rest of our lives come through the worst bit of brokenness. And Mary gets this little uneven sunbeam of fractured joy in the midst of realizing that God has, in fact, promised that she would forever be favored. It's remarkable what God can do despite our circumstances. It's remarkable what God can do in your life despite what has happened to you. It's remarkable what God could use you for if you are willing to walk in step with him.